Welcome to Tyrian Characterology, the show where we dig up the lore and backstories about prominent characters from the world of Tyria. Last time you guys had voted which of the two previous contenders for a seat at the Captain's Council that you would want to be portrayed. The overwhelming majority chose Evan Nashblade, and so he had his turn on the show. But that won't stop us from talking about Ellen Kiel as well. Let's take a look at the events that brought Keel into the position she holds today. So let's get started. The story of Ellen begins at a very young age, trapped at sea. The water was rising, churning and black. A dirty, oily gleam rippled upon the surface. It was cold, freezing cold. Ellen squeezed herself into the corner as tightly as she could. "Mama?" Ellen called. "Mama, where are you?" A monstrous groan rose up from far below and the ship creaked. Body shivering beyond control, Ellen trod water with difficulty and her tears blended with the salty sea. When the water overcame her, Ellen promised the gods that she would be a good girl forever and ever, if they would only send her parents to get her. "Please," she silently pleaded. "I'll be good." Suddenly, something large and strong wrapped around her ankle and dragged her down. The next thing she knew, her head emerged into the open air and she inhaled. Her lungs and belly rejected the water in them with painful determination. A thick band wrapped around her middle kept her head above the surface, and a gruff voice growled in her ear. "That's it. Cough it all up. You're gonna be okay. It's alright, kid," he said. "What's your name?" "Ellen." "I'm Magnus. Are your parents on that ship?" But though Captain Magnus's crew went looking for her parents, they were never found. The first time we met Ellen, she was known under the title of Lion Guard Inspector Ellen Kiel, who had been tasked with tracing down the individual responsible for luring huge carcass into the Lion's Arch harbor. Keel traced down the Salvari Kanak of the Consortium in Garenhof and brought him in for questioning.
"The carcass gone, scuttled off to who knows where, and now we know how to fight it."
Actually, sir, I think I know exactly where it went. Canuck, get over here and start sharing. The Silvari has information on how this carka mess began. Start talking, Canuck.
Kanak had been in charge of an expedition to an unknown and recently discovered island as part of a consortium group. They were forbidden from interfering with the wildlife, but Kanak had begun harvesting plants around the island. This had aggravated the local creatures. Keel forced Kanak to reveal his and the consortium's involvement and took the fight to the carka under Magnus's orders. Demolition teams planted charges and adventurers found and drove the ancient carka back to the hive. After blowing the charges and firing siege weapons, the Lion Guard managed to drop the huge carka into lava. After the incident, Inspector Keel remained on the island to learn more about the carka and help prevent future issues, but Kanak escaped during the chaos. On Southsun, the Consortium had given shelter to refugees driven from their lands by the Molten Alliance. But many of the new arrivals felt more like prisoners than guests, bound by their contract with the Consortium. Subdirector Null was assigned to oversee the work of the refugees and the establishment of the Consortium's resort. With the help of his golem, Jabotron, he berated and endangered the settlers continuously throughout the day. And so, tension between the resettled refugees and their Consortium hosts started to boil over. In response to this, Captain Magnus ordered Lion Guard Inspector Ellen Kiel to deal with the Unrest before the upcoming festival in Lion's Arch. But even though Southsun was under the jurisdiction of Lion's Arch, the Lion Guard could not stop the forced settlers' pleas as the island was still owned by the Consortium and they had not acted in any criminal way by the laws of the Pirate Haven. This was when Kanak returned to help the settlers at any cost. But Keel was having none of this and tracked down the criminal.
"You got away clean. Why'd you risk coming back just to stir things up again?"
"I'm doing what the Lion Guard can't. I'm helping the refugees. The Consortium used legal trickery to trap them here. I needed to send Null and his superiors a message, and these people needed hope. So I provided it."
Well, that hope you provided left a trail of wreckage and broken bodies across my island.
"It doesn't matter. The last of these contracts will be destroyed and the settlers will be freed."
Not by you. You're officially a Lion Guard prisoner, Canuck. Again. You've done all the damage you're going to do.
In response to Kanak's plan, Keel gathered the contracts on the island to be sent to Lion's Arch. When the contracts were loaded onto the ship, Keel set off a rigged explosion, destroying all the contracts in the process.
What just happened?
Oops. Looks like Canuck was one step ahead of us after all. What a shame. I'll be filling out forms and giving explanations to my superiors for weeks. Luckily, my Lion Guard had orders to clear the ship if anything unexpected happened. And hey, without those records, the settlers have no more reason to riot. So things aren't all bad.
I see. You're in serious trouble, Inspector. I advise you to make those explanations very, very good.
Thanks, but I'm not worried. Turns out I'm fairly adept at thinking on my feet. I had to improvise to get the results you wanted, but the way is clear for next month's festival.
Sounds good. I just hope it's good enough to justify the earful I'm going to get from the consortium. But Connacht's in custody, the settlers are happy, and Null is furious. I call that a good day's work.
Thank you, sir, but there's still a lot to be done here.
That's not your problem. You haven't taken a day off since I've known you. Take 3. Go buy a swimsuit and sit on the beach. Meet somebody. Go dancing. Anything. Just be something other than a Lion Guard for a while. That's an order.
The Dragon Bash festival kicked off in Lion's Arch, and so Keel returned from her vacation to guard the ceremony. But unfortunately, the ceremony was sabotaged, killing one of the captain's council members, Theo Ashford.
His second died a few weeks ago in that whole Molten Alliance uproar.
So there will have to be a council election.
That's right. And I want you to go for it.
What? I don't have that kind of wealth, and I'm not a ship's captain.
Then you'd better get creative. I put your name in, and I commandeered the abandoned Aetherblade airship for you. That's the kind of fast thinking that made me choose you.
A mysterious pirate named Mytrin was responsible. Mytrin fled the scene, and so Keel chased after her. This led her to find a secret Aetherblade hideout, hidden just within reach of Lion's Arch itself.
Lion Guard, take our intrepid airship captain into custody. Don't take your eyes off her. On it, investigator.
The perpetrator was caught, and Ellen personally confiscated Mytrin's ship, the Havoc's heir, and took it as her own, essentially making herself a captain. So, Magnus had an idea.
I stole it off those Aetherblades who attacked the Arch. I figured as long as I was taking one of their airships, I may as well take their look too.
Did the swagger come with it? Or was that one of your own making?
That I was born with.
You ready to beat the smug off that greedy old pirate?
Nashblade? No problem. Well, small problem. Okay, so he's probably gonna smear me, but I'll give it my best shot.
Good. Don't underestimate him. And don't disappoint me. I'm sticking my neck out because I think you can win.
I'll do my very best.
All right, Captain Ellen Kiel. You'd better go make sure your crew isn't robbing you blind.
Aye, aye.
By the way, did you hear the Bazaar is back? They're expecting Zephyr Sanctum to make an appearance.
No kidding. I've heard the Bazaar can be dangerous.
And delightful. But I mention it to you for a reason. The Council has failed numerous times to acquire a trade agreement with the Sanctum. They'd be especially appreciative to any individual who managed to broker one.
Are you suggesting...
Yes. Go work that smile on the Zephyrites. You've got a better chance than those crusty old pirates on the Council.
I've always wanted to go to a bazaar. I've never been able to take the time off. Consider it done, Captain.
And so she went off to the Zephyr Sanctum to get in contact with the Master of Peace. But it turned out that her competitor, Evan Nashblade of the Black Lion Trading Company, had a similar idea.
May we discuss the possibility of a trade agreement between your charming sanctum and the great city of...
I'm not his assistant, sir. I can tell you that my city has much to offer you, year-round. Our gardens are...
Pardon my intrusion on your display of feathers. Tell me, do your people support you?
Absolutely. I am beloved among the people.
And you, Lion Guard?
What? Well, I'm rather well-liked, I suppose.
Good. You must both now impress me with the enthusiasm of your supporters. If you succeed, we'll discuss a trade agreement.
Thus, a selection turned into an election, giving the citizens of Lion's Arch the opportunity to vote which of the two contenders they would support. In return, Ellen would reduce the waypoint costs, sponsor important historical research, and host popular activities.
If neither of us gets this trade agreement, it'll be all your fault.
My fault? You're a mouse fart who thinks she's a hurricane. Please.
Oh yeah? No more being nice. You're going down, Nashblade.
Just stand aside, Ellen, so you don't get your feelings hurt.
And while the election was going, Ellen worked hard to try and convince her fellow citizens that she would be the right candidate.
Thank you for answering my summons. I just learned that an Aetherblade airship loaded with plunder from Lion's Arch went down nearby.
It's our lucky day. What are your orders, Captain?
Those pirates will want their loot back. When they come for it, we'll be there to greet them. Go secure that treasure so we can return it to its rightful owners.
Wait, to its rightful... Captain, begging your pardon, but wouldn't your campaign be better served if we used that...
Belay that talk, mister. I won't build our campaign on the backs of victims. Now, I'm ordering you to protect those valuables at all cost. I'll send relief soon.
In the end, Ellen Kiel narrowly won the people's vote and was granted a seat at the Captain's Council. And so she kept her word and reduced the prices of waypoints and went into the Mythlock Observatory to convince Dessa to help her investigate the Thaumanova incident.
Hello. Welcome to Mistlock Observatory. Please don't touch anything. This is delicate equipment, and tampering...
I'm not tampering. I'm commandeering. We need this machinery to investigate the Thaumanova reactor disaster.
Disaster? My friends there never mentioned any disaster. Besides, it would take an expert to isolate a specific...
That's where you come in. I direct, you calibrate. Unless you want to get hauled off to a Lion Guard brig.
No. Unacceptable. I cannot abandon my work. I will not.
Then you'd better get busy. And don't worry about your consortium bosses. I'll force them to secure their compliance later.
Thaumanova disaster, isolated. Breeding massive energy spikes. Temporal distortion. I hope you know what you're doing.
Dessa sure is dedicated. Suspiciously so. I mean, did you see her face when I told her I'd haul her in? She looked like her whole world was ending. I'll never understand how the Consortium inspires such loyalty. But it means we can't trust her. I'm staying behind to make sure no one fiddles with the machinery once we're underway. Sorry to abandon you, but Magnus made it clear. The Arch can't afford to lose any more counselors. However, if I understand it right, I can monitor you once you're in. I'll be in touch every step of the way. And I promise you, as a member of the Captain's Council, do this for me, and it'll absolutely be worth your while.
And so, she sent in a few willing heroes to investigate the scene. Here, they found that a particular Sylvari named Scarlet Briar had been involved with the incident. The Sylvari involved expanded her terror in the modern-day Tyria, moving closer and closer to Lion's Arch. Therefore, Ellen tried her best to convince the Council to better their defenses against a possible attack from Scarlet. But this was to no avail. Her pleas fell on ignorant ears. And so, the inevitable happened. Scarlet attacked Lion's Arch, destroying everything. Ellen, eager to help, set her Lion Guards to action to try and save the citizens, while she transported others out of the city into the Vigil Keep with her airship. As the majority of the population had been secured, the Lion Guard rallied alongside a band of heroes known as the Be Iconic Group. Together, they put an end to Scarlet.
The city are still unsafe, but once we fix...
I'm tired of excuses, Magnus. The city's a wreck. If you can't get Lion's Arch on its feet, you're going to wake up and find this a ghost town.
Who is that?
One of the hungry, jobless, in mourning. And her anger is going to have company when we bring more of them back in. Oh, we're not ready for this. We've barely started to make the city livable again.
Then today is your lucky day. I brought you some help.
So this floating trash can is a refugee?
More than that. We've got ourselves a hero.
Hero, accessing moniker protocol, reformatting primary identity.
This golem healed the wounded. He stormed Scarlet's platforms with us, and without weapons. And now the Seraph want to take him away for helping Scarlet, when he did nothing of the sort.
This unit is now designated Herotron.
Whatever. Keel vouches for you, and that's good enough for me. I'll find a use for you. As head of the Lion Guard, and, member in good standing of the Captain's Council, I proclaim Herotron a free citizen of Lion's Arch.
Seconded. Consider yourself home, Golem.
Happiness mode engaged.
Lion's Arch was now in ruins, but soon enough a few good-hearted nations came to support the pirate city.
On behalf of the Captain's Council and this worthy assembly, welcome, Zephyrites. I'm sorry Lion's Arch is still a work in progress, but key services have been restored and the Lion Guard are patrolling.
No need to apologize, Captain. We came to offer our support and to assure you our trade agreement remains intact. To start, we're donating a shipment of much-needed supplies, which we have staged here on the docks. We're also organizing a series of attractions, with a portion of the proceeds going to the Lion's Arch Relief Fund.
That's very kind, sir, and much appreciated.
With all the help the city could muster, they slowly began rebuilding the city into what we see before us today. The story of Keel is closely intertwined with that of Lion's Arch, as she aims to protect the city at all costs. Now that we've heard the stories of both council competitors, I can't help but feel like we're missing a tiny but quite significant part of the story of Lion's Arch. So next time we'll shine some light on the story of a particular little golem named Jobotron. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I will see you in the mists.